Captain Marcus Chen adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform one last time as his ship approached the glittering capital world of Zerathia. The planet below sparkled like a jewel against the void, its crystalline cities catching the light of twin suns. He had been chosen for this mission not because of his military record, though it was impressive, but because of his calm demeanor and ability to navigate complex social situations. Earth needed this alliance badly. The Zerathian Empire controlled 3 entire star systems and had technology that humanity desperately needed. Their energy shields could protect Earth's colonies from the constant raids by the savage Korthak pirates. In return, Earth offered something the Zerathians valued highly: agricultural expertise and the ability to terraform hostile worlds. As Marcus docked at the orbital platform, he was greeted by a delegation of tall, elegant beings. The Zerathians looked almost human, but their skin had a subtle blue tint, and their eyes were larger, adapting them to the dimmer light of their homeworld. They wore flowing robes embedded with tiny lights that pulsed in complex patterns. "Captain Chen," said the lead diplomat, bowing gracefully, "I am Ambassador Vorin. We are honored by humanity's presence at Princess Lyralei's wedding ceremony. Your species' reputation for loyalty and courage precedes you." Marcus returned the bow, careful to match the exact angle he had practiced. "The honor is ours, Ambassador. Earth congratulates the princess on her union." The wedding was to take place in 3 days, giving Marcus time to learn the customs and meet other dignitaries. The Zerathian royal family had invited representatives from dozens of species across the galaxy. It was both a celebration and a massive diplomatic gathering. As they traveled down to the planet's surface, Vorin explained the significance of the event. "Princess Lyralei is the Emperor's youngest daughter, beloved by our people. Her marriage to Prince Korthek of the Valdris system will unite 2 powerful houses. The ceremony itself is sacred to us. It involves ancient rituals that bind not just the couple, but their families and allies." The palace was breathtaking. Towers of living crystal stretched toward the sky, their surfaces shifting between colors as the day progressed. Gardens filled with alien flowers created a symphony of scents that somehow remained pleasant to Marcus's human senses. Fountains of liquid light cascaded down the walls, a technology that Earth scientists could barely comprehend. Marcus was given quarters in the diplomatic wing, luxurious rooms with walls that could become transparent to show the gardens below or opaque for privacy. His first formal dinner was that evening, where he would meet other guests and, importantly, the princess herself. The dining hall was enormous, with a ceiling that showed real-time images of the stars above. Marcus had studied Zerathian etiquette for weeks, but seeing it in practice was overwhelming. Each species had different customs for greeting, eating, and conversation. He watched carefully, following the lead of more experienced diplomats. When Princess Lyralei entered, the hall fell silent. She was stunning even by human standards, with the typical Zerathian blue-tinted skin that seemed to glow softly in the light. Her hair was long and silver, woven with crystals that matched her elaborate gown. But it was her eyes that caught Marcus's attention. They were sad, despite her smile. She moved through the room gracefully, speaking with each delegation. When she reached Marcus, he bowed as he had been taught. "Captain Chen of Earth," she said, her voice melodious but tired. "I have heard much about your species. They say humans never abandon their friends." "Your Highness honors us," Marcus replied. "We believe loyalty is the foundation of all relationships." Something flickered in her eyes at those words. How fortunate for those who earn such loyalty. Before Marcus could respond, she had moved on to the next guest. The evening progressed with entertainment that showcased various cultural traditions. Marcus found himself genuinely enjoying the alien music and the stories told through holographic displays. But he kept noticing Princess Liralai, who seemed to grow more melancholy as the night continued. Later, as Marcus walked through the palace gardens to clear his head, he heard quiet sobbing from behind a cluster of luminescent trees. His training told him to walk away, to not interfere in alien affairs. But his human instincts were stronger. He found the princess sitting on a stone bench, her elaborate gown spread around her like water. She looked up in surprise as he approached, quickly wiping her eyes. "Captain Chen, you should not see me like this." Marcus sat down carefully, maintaining a respectful distance. "Your Highness, if I may ask, are you all right?" She laughed bitterly. "All right? I am about to be married to a man I have never loved, to secure an alliance my father needs. Prince Korthek is not cruel, but he sees me as a prize to be won, not a person to be cherished. This wedding will chain me to a life of duty with no joy." Marcus felt his chest tighten. The pain in her voice was universal, transcending species. "On Earth, we believe that everyone deserves happiness, not just duty." "Your world sounds wonderful," she said softly. "Tell me about it." For the next hour, Marcus described Earth, its blue oceans, green forests, and the diversity of human cultures. He told her about cities where people chose their own paths, about art and music created for beauty rather than politics. The princess listened with growing fascination. "I would give anything to see such a place," she whispered, "to choose my own path even for a single day. Perhaps someday, when the alliance between our worlds is strong, you could visit as an ambassador," Marcus suggested. She shook her head sadly. "Once I am married, I will belong to the Valdris system. Their customs are even more restrictive than ours." As they talked, Marcus learned that Zarathian marriages were not just social contracts but mystical bonds. Once married, the couple would be linked mentally and emotionally for life. If one died, the other would follow within days. It was considered the ultimate expression of love, but for Lirali, it would be a prison. The next 2 days passed quickly. Marcus attended cultural events and formal dinners, all while building relationships with other diplomats. The wedding preparations were elaborate beyond anything he had ever seen. Entire city blocks were decorated with flowers that sang in harmony. Artisans created temporary sculptures from solidified light. The air itself seemed to shimmer with excitement. But Marcus found himself thinking constantly about his conversation with the princess. He saw her at various events, always graceful and smiling, but he could now see the sadness she hid so well. She was trapped by duty and tradition, with no escape. On the morning of the wedding, Marcus woke early and walked through the palace gardens. The ceremony would begin at midday, and by evening Princess Liralai would be bound forever to a man she did not love. The thought made him angry in a way that surprised him. As he walked, he encountered Prince Korthek practicing his ceremonial sword work. The prince was tall and muscular, with the golden skin and fierce eyes of his species. He noticed Marcus watching and approached. "You are the human diplomat," Korthek said, his voice deep and commanding. "I have heard your species excels in combat." "We prefer diplomacy to war, Your Highness," Marcus replied carefully. Korthek laughed. "Diplomacy is for the weak. Strength is what matters. After I marry Liralai, she will learn to appreciate the Valdris way of thinking. She has been too sheltered, too soft. My people will make her stronger." Marcus clenched his fists, but kept his voice level. "Princess Liralai seems quite strong to me, Your Highness." "You mistake softness for strength," Korthek dismissed. "But you will see. Once the bond is complete, she will have no choice but to adapt to her new life." As the prince walked away, Marcus felt his anger growing. This was not just an arranged marriage. It was the imprisonment of a beautiful, intelligent woman who deserved so much more. The ceremony began at exactly midday in the palace's greatest hall. Representatives from across the galaxy filled crystalline seats that rose in tiers around the central platform. Marcus sat with the other Earth delegates, watching as the elaborate ritual unfolded. Princess Lorelei entered wearing a gown that seemed to be made of starlight itself. She moved like she was floating, her face serene but empty of emotion. Prince Korthek waited at the altar, resplendent in golden armor that caught the light from the hall's crystal ceiling. The ceremony involved multiple phases, each more complex than the last. Ancient words were spoken in the old Zarathian language, while holographic symbols appeared in the air around the couple. Marcus could see the mystical energy building, creating visible streams of light that began to connect the bride and groom. As the ritual reached its climax, something went wrong. Prince Korthek stumbled, perhaps overwhelmed by the mystical energies or simply nervous. The ceremonial chalice he was holding flew from his hands, spinning through the air directly toward Princess Lyralei's face. Without thinking, Marcus leaped from his seat. He had always been athletic, and his reflexes were sharp from years of military training. Time seemed to slow as he vaulted over the barriers between the seating and the ceremonial platform. Other guests gasped in shock as the human diplomat launched himself through the air. Marcus caught the chalice just inches from the princess's face, but his momentum carried him forward. He crashed into her, and they both tumbled to the ground in a tangle of formal clothes and ceremony decorations. The mystical energies that had been building around the platform suddenly swirled chaotically, seeking new targets. As Marcus helped the princess to her feet, he felt a strange tingling sensation wash over his entire body. The air around them shimmered with golden light, and for a moment he could swear he felt someone else's emotions mixing with his own: surprise, gratitude, and something else he could not identify. "What have you done?" Prince Korthek roared, his face red with embarrassment and anger. The high priest who had been conducting the ceremony stared at Marcus and the princess with wide eyes. The golden light was fading, but the energy had definitely settled around them rather than the original couple. "Impossible," the priest whispered. "The sacred binding. It has chosen new recipients." The hall erupted in chaos. Guests from dozens of species began talking at once, their voices creating a cacophony of confusion and concern. The emperor himself rose from his throne, his face a mixture of shock and growing anger. "Seize the human!" someone shouted, but the high priest raised his hand for silence. "Wait, this has never happened before, but the sacred writings speak of such possibilities. When the binding energies are interrupted at the moment of peak flow, they may choose their own recipients based on the purity of intent and the strength of connection." Marcus felt the princess's hand slip into his as they stood together in the center of the chaos. Her touch sent another wave of that strange tingling sensation through his body, and suddenly he could sense her emotions clearly: fear, confusion, but also hope. "What does this mean?" Marcus asked, though he was beginning to suspect he knew. The high priest consulted an ancient text that appeared in holographic form. "According to our most sacred laws, the binding cannot be undone once it has chosen its recipients. Captain Chen of Earth, Princess Lorelei of Zarathia, you are now bound by the ancient marriage rites of our people." The hall fell silent except for the sound of Marcus's heart beating rapidly in his chest. He had come as a simple diplomat to attend a wedding, and now, through one moment of instinctive heroism, he found himself married to an alien princess he barely knew. But as he looked into Lyralei's eyes and saw hope replacing the despair that had haunted her, he realized that perhaps some mistakes were actually destiny revealing itself. The silence in the great hall stretched like a taut wire ready to snap. Marcus could feel hundreds of alien eyes staring at him and Princess Lorelei as they stood together in the center of the ceremonial platform. The golden energy that had bound them was fading, but he could still sense her emotions as clearly as his own, a mixture of terror and unexpected relief. Emperor Zarian slowly descended from his throne, his blue-tinted face dark with anger. Each step echoed through the crystal hall like thunder. Prince Korthek stood nearby, his golden armor gleaming as his hands clenched and unclenched in barely controlled rage. "Guards!" The Emperor's voice boomed across the hall. "Arrest the human for disrupting a sacred ceremony." "Wait, father." Princess Lyrale's voice cut through the tension like a blade. She squeezed Marcus's hand tighter, and he felt her gathering courage through their new bond. "High Priest Valdoran, explain the law to us. What exactly has happened here?" The elderly priest, his ceremonial robes shimmering with embedded crystals, consulted his ancient texts again. His weathered face grew increasingly troubled as he read. "Your Majesty, the sacred binding ritual is governed by laws older than our empire. When the mystical energies choose new recipients, it is considered a divine intervention." "Ridiculous," Prince Korthek snarled, stepping forward. His species were known for their aggressive nature, and his diplomatic restraint was clearly slipping. This human deliberately interfered. He should be executed for his insult to both our houses. Marcus felt anger flare through the bond, not his own, but Lyrale's. The sensation was startling, like suddenly hearing someone else's thoughts. "Captain Chen saved me from injury," the princess said firmly. "If anyone should be blamed, perhaps it should be the groom who dropped the ceremonial chalice in the first place." Korthek's face turned an alarming shade of red. "How dare you?" "Enough!" Emperor Zarian raised his hand for silence. "High Priest, continue your explanation." Valdoran bowed deeply before speaking. "The ancient texts are clear. Your Majesty, the sacred binding is performed by channeling mystical energies that have their own will. They choose recipients based on compatibility of spirit, purity of intent, and the strength of their connection. Once the energies have chosen and the binding is complete, it cannot be undone by any means known to our people." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "What exactly does this binding entail?" "You are now married according to our most sacred laws," the priest explained. "Your life forces are intertwined. You will be able to sense each other's emotions and, with practice, communicate across vast distances. If one of you dies, the other will follow within 7 days unless the bond is somehow transferred." The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. He had been trying to save someone from an unwanted marriage, only to find himself trapped in the same situation. But as he glanced at Lyrale, he realized she looked more alive than she had since he arrived. "This is unacceptable," Emperor Zarian declared. "My daughter was promised to Prince Korthek. This marriage was to seal an alliance between our peoples." "With respect, Your Majesty," said Ambassador Vorin, Marcus's Zarathian contact, "our alliance with the Valdris system was dependent on this marriage. If the princess is now bound to another, we must consider the diplomatic ramifications." Prince Korthek stepped closer to Marcus, his hand moving to the ceremonial sword at his side. "I challenge the human to combat. When I kill him, the princess will be free to marry as planned." "No," Lyrale said quickly. "Our laws forbid challenges against those protected by the sacred binding." Marcus could feel her fear through their bond, but also her determination to protect him. It was an odd sensation, caring about someone he barely knew, yet feeling connected to them on a fundamental level. "The princess is correct," High Priest Valdoran confirmed. "Those joined by the sacred binding are under divine protection. They cannot be challenged or harmed without risking the wrath of our ancestors." The Emperor began pacing, his royal robes rustling with each step. "This creates an impossible situation. Captain Chen, you came here as a diplomat. Did you plan this disruption?" Marcus straightened, drawing on his military training to remain calm under pressure. "Your Majesty, I acted purely on instinct to prevent your daughter from being injured." I had no knowledge of your marriage customs or their mystical properties. This was completely unintentional. Through their bond, Marcus felt Lyralay's gratitude for his honesty, mixed with growing affection that surprised them both. Unintentional or not, the Emperor continued, you have created a crisis. The Valdris system will see this as an insult. They may withdraw from all negotiations. Then perhaps, said a new voice from the crowd, we should consider what the princess wants. Everyone turned to see Admiral Kestra, the Emperor's sister and a war hero known throughout the Empire. She approached the platform with the confident stride of someone who had faced down enemies across the galaxy. Sister, the Emperor warned, this is not your concern. A member of our royal family is now bound to a representative of a new species, Admiral Kestra replied. That makes it very much my concern. Princess Lyralai, you have been silent about your own feelings. Tell us, what do you wish? Marcus felt a wave of emotion through their bond as Lyralai gathered courage to speak her truth publicly for the first time. I wish to honor the sacred binding, she said, her voice growing stronger with each word. Captain Chen acted with nobility and courage. If the divine energies have chosen him as my partner, then perhaps this is fate telling us something about the path our empire should take. You speak of abandoning an alliance for a stranger, Prince Korthek accused. I speak of accepting what has been chosen by forces greater than political convenience, Lyralai replied. Through their bond, Marcus felt her years of suppressed frustration and longing for freedom finally finding voice. Captain Chen represents a species known for loyalty, honor, and the protection of others. Perhaps this binding is meant to show us new possibilities. Emperor Zerion looked thoughtful for the first time since the crisis began. Admiral Kestra, what are your thoughts on the strategic implications? The Admiral studied Marcus carefully before responding. Your Majesty, I have read the reports about humanity. They are fierce warriors when threatened, but prefer diplomacy when possible. They have never broken an alliance or abandoned an ally in their recorded history. From a military standpoint, they might prove more reliable partners than the Valdris system. The Valdris have superior technology, Prince Korthek protested. Technology means nothing without the will to use it effectively, Admiral Kestra countered. The humans have proven themselves in battle against impossible odds. They have a saying, no human left behind. That kind of loyalty could serve our empire well. Marcus felt a swell of pride at her words, mixed with Lyralai's growing admiration through their bond. It was strange how quickly he was adapting to sensing another person's emotions as clearly as his own. High Priest, the Emperor said finally, are there any precedents for this situation? Valdoran consulted his texts again, his aged fingers tracing glowing symbols. There is one, Your Majesty. 3,000 years ago, Princess Myralyn was bound to a warrior from the Kranex system under similar circumstances. Their union lasted 60 years and produced 5 children who became great heroes of our people. The alliance formed through their marriage lasted for centuries. And what happened to the original intended groom? The Emperor asked. Prince Thadok challenged the binding and was stripped of his titles for defying divine will. His house fell from favor and never recovered. Prince Korthek's face went pale at this news. The threat was clear. Fighting the sacred binding would destroy not just him, but his entire family line. I require time to consider this situation, Emperor Zerion announced. Captain Chen, Princess Lyralai, you will remain in the palace while we determine how to proceed. Guards will ensure your safety, but you are not to leave the grounds. As the crowd began to disperse, Marcus found himself escorted to new quarters in the royal wing. Lyralai walked beside him, their hands still joined. He could sense her mixture of relief and anxiety about their uncertain future. I'm sorry. he said quietly as they walked through corridors lined with portraits of Zarathian royalty. I never meant to trap you in another unwanted situation. She stopped and turned to face him, her large eyes reflecting the light from the crystal walls. You didn't trap me, Marcus. You freed me. For the first time in my life, I am bound to someone who acted out of kindness rather than political gain. But you don't know me, he protested. I could be anyone. Through their bond, she sensed his genuine concern for her well-being and smiled. I can feel your character through our connection. You are honorable, brave, and kind. Many women in arranged marriages never learn that much about their husbands. They were given adjoining suites connected by a common sitting room. As evening fell, they sat together on a balcony overlooking the palace gardens, trying to process the day's events. What happens now? Marcus asked. I'm not certain, Lyreley admitted. Father will need to decide whether to honor the binding or find a way around it. The political implications are enormous. As they talked, Marcus learned more about Zarathian culture and politics. The empire was stable but facing external threats from several aggressive species. The marriage alliance with the Valdris system was meant to provide military support, but it would have required Zarathia to adopt more militaristic policies. Your people, Lyreley said, they really value individual choice and happiness? We believe everyone has the right to pursue their own path, as long as it doesn't harm others, Marcus replied. It's not always easy, and we don't always succeed, but we try to balance personal freedom with social responsibility. It sounds wonderful, she said wistfully. As the days passed, Marcus and Lyreley spent their time learning about each other. Their bond deepened naturally, built on genuine affection and shared values rather than political necessity. Marcus found himself genuinely caring for this intelligent, compassionate woman who had been trapped by circumstances beyond her control. Meanwhile, the political situation grew more complex. Representatives from the Valdris system arrived demanding satisfaction for the insult to Prince Korthek. Earth's government sent additional diplomats to handle the crisis, including Admiral Sarah Torres, Marcus's former commander. Marcus, Admiral Torres said during a private meeting, you've created quite a situation here. Earth's alliance with Zarathia is now completely dependent on how this marriage issue is resolved. I understand, Admiral, Marcus replied, but I couldn't let an innocent person be hurt. Torres studied him carefully. The princess seems happy with the arrangement. She is, Marcus said, feeling Lyreley's contentment through their bond even though she was in another part of the palace. And so am I, surprisingly. Good, Torres said unexpectedly, because Earth's position is that we support our people, especially when they act with honor. If Emperor Zerion tries to break the binding, we'll consider it an act of aggression. The situation came to a head during a formal hearing attended by representatives from multiple star systems. Emperor Zerion sat on his crystal throne while lawyers and diplomats from various species argued about the legality and implications of the binding. Finally, the Emperor raised his hand for silence. I have made my decision, he announced, his voice echoing through the hall. The sacred binding will be honored. Princess Lyreley and Captain Chen are hereby recognized as lawfully married according to our most ancient traditions. Prince Korthek started to object, but his own advisors quickly silenced him. The risks of challenging divine will had been made clear. However, the Emperor continued, this union creates new diplomatic realities. Captain Chen, you are now a Prince of Zarathia by marriage. Earth and Zarathia will negotiate a new alliance to replace the one with the Valdris system. Marcus felt a mixture of emotions through his bond with Lyreley, joy, relief, and excitement about their future together. He realized that what had started as a mistake had become the foundation for something beautiful and genuine. As the formal proceedings ended, Marcus and Lyrelai stood together facing an uncertain but hopeful future. They had been brought together by accident, but their growing love was very real. And somewhere in the back of his mind, Marcus suspected that this mistake might just change the course of galactic history. 6 months had passed since the wedding that changed everything. Marcus stood on the observation deck of the joint human-Zarathian research station orbiting the third moon of Zarathia Prime, watching his wife coordinate a complex diplomatic negotiation between 5 different species. Princess Lyrelai had blossomed in her new role as an ambassador, free to use her intelligence and compassion in ways her previous life would never have allowed. Their bond had deepened far beyond what either had expected. What started as an accident had become a partnership that strengthened both of them. Marcus could sense Lyrelai's satisfaction as she successfully mediated a trade dispute between the crystalline Veltar and the aquatic Merthi. Her ability to understand and relate to different cultures had made her one of the most effective diplomats in the galaxy. The Veltar delegation has agreed to the modified terms, Lyrelai announced, her voice carrying clearly through the station's communication system. Trade routes through the Zerion Nebula will be shared equally, with the Merthi providing navigation expertise and the Veltar offering their superior sensor technology. Marcus felt her joy through their bond as the 2 species formally signed the agreement. It was the 3rd major diplomatic success she had achieved since their marriage, and each one strengthened the growing alliance between Earth and Zarathia. "Impressive work," said Admiral Torres, who had arrived to oversee the next phase of their military cooperation. "Your wife has accomplished more in 6 months than most diplomats achieve in their entire careers." "She's remarkable," Marcus agreed, watching Lyrelai gracefully conclude the ceremony. But then, she always was. She just needed the freedom to show it. The transformation had not been without challenges. Prince Korthek and the Valdris system had initially threatened war over the broken marriage contract, but other species had quickly pointed out the danger of defying what was clearly divine intervention. The Valdris had eventually settled for expanded trade agreements and military cooperation treaties that actually provided them more benefits than the original marriage alliance would have. More importantly, the union between Marcus and Lyrelai had created something unprecedented in galactic politics, a bridge between human ingenuity and Zarathian wisdom that was producing innovations neither species could have achieved alone. "Admiral," Marcus said, "what's the latest report from the Joint Defense Project?" Torres smiled, something she rarely did during official briefings. "Beyond our best projections. The combination of human tactical thinking with Zarathian energy manipulation has created shield systems that are 30% more efficient than anything either species had independently. The Korthak pirates who have been raiding the outer colonies don't stand a chance." The Korthak had been a constant threat to both human and Zarathian settlements. These savage warriors lived only for battle and conquest, viewing other species as either slaves or prey. For decades, they had launched raids from their hidden bases in the Dark Nebula, striking quickly and disappearing before retaliation could be organized. "When do we test the new defense grid?" Marcus asked. "Tomorrow," Torres replied. "And if our intelligence is correct, we'll get a real-world test sooner than expected. Korthak raiding fleets have been massing near the Kestrel system. They're planning something big." Through his bond, Marcus sensed Lyrelai approaching before she even entered the observation deck. Her emotional state was troubled, which immediately put him on alert. "Marcus," she said as she joined them, "we have a problem. I just received a priority communication from my father." Emperor Zerion appeared as a hologram in the center of the room, his blue-tinged features stern with concern. "My daughter, Captain Chen, Admiral Torres. I hope this message finds you well. I am contacting you because we have discovered something troubling about the Korthak raids." The hologram shifted to show star charts and intelligence reports. Our spy network has uncovered evidence that the Korthak are not acting independently. They are being supplied and directed by the Nethys Consortium. Marcus felt his blood run cold. The Nethys Consortium was a shadowy organization that profited from galactic instability. They sold weapons to anyone willing to pay, manipulated conflicts for profit, and had been suspected of orchestrating wars between various species for their own gain. The consortium has been providing the Korthak with advanced weaponry and intelligence about our defensive positions, the Emperor continued. More concerning, they have recently supplied the Korthak with something new, ships capable of bypassing our traditional detection methods. Admiral Torres leaned forward. How advanced are these stealth ships? Unknown, the Emperor's hologram replied. But our outer colonies have been reporting strange disappearances. Entire settlements going silent with no distress calls, no signs of struggle. When our ships arrive to investigate, they find only empty buildings and no trace of the inhabitants. Lyrelei gripped Marcus's hand tightly. Through their bond, he felt her fear, not for herself, but for the innocent people being taken by the Korthak raiders. We need to accelerate our defense preparations, Marcus said. If the Korthak have stealth technology, our current detection grids won't be enough. Already in progress, Torres replied. But we're going to need more than defensive measures. The source of this problem is the Nethys Consortium itself. Over the following days, the joint Human-Zarathian task force worked around the clock to prepare for the coming threat. The new shield technology was deployed to critical systems, while combined fleets began coordinated patrols of shipping lanes and colony worlds. Marcus found himself appointed as commander of the joint military response, while Lyrelei worked to build diplomatic support from other species. Their bond proved invaluable in coordinating complex operations, allowing them to communicate instantly across vast distances and share tactical information in real time. The first test came sooner than expected. The agricultural colony of New Terra, home to 50,000 human settlers, suddenly went silent during its scheduled communication window. Long-range sensors detected no ships in the system, but the colony's defense satellites had been destroyed with surgical precision. It's the stealth ships, Marcus reported to the Joint Command Center. They can bypass our sensors completely. Not all of them, said Dr. Yilan Zheng, the chief scientist on the Joint Research Project. The Zarathian energy-sensing crystals can detect distortions in space-time that these stealth ships create. We just need to modify our sensors. Working together, human engineers and Zarathian technicians developed a new detection system in record time. The crystal-enhanced sensors could identify the subtle energy signatures that even the most advanced stealth technology could not completely hide. We have them, Marcus announced as the modified sensors came online. 12 Korthak stealth ships moving in formation toward the Meridian colonies. The joint fleet moved to intercept, using their new shield technology and detection systems to gain a decisive advantage. For the first time in decades, the Korthak raiders found themselves outmatched and outmaneuvered. But victory in battle was only the beginning. Through enhanced interrogation of captured Korthak warriors, they learned the location of several Nethys Consortium supply bases. More importantly, they discovered that the consortium was planning something much larger than simple raids. They're building a fleet, Lyrelei reported after analyzing the intelligence data. Not just ships, but a massive mobile base capable of conquering entire star systems. They're using the Korthak as test subjects for new weapons technology. The revelation sparked the largest military alliance in galactic history. Species that had been enemies for centuries united against the consortium threat. Humans provided tactical expertise and determination. Zarathians offered energy weapons and defensive technology. The Veltar contributed their advanced sensors, and the Murthi shared their navigation skills. Marcus and Lyrelei found themselves at the center of this unprecedented cooperation. their marriage having become a symbol of what different species could accomplish when they worked together instead of against each other. The final confrontation came at the edge of the galaxy, where the Nethys Consortium had built their secret shipyards in the gravitational shadow of a black hole. The massive mobile fortress they had constructed was indeed capable of conquering star systems, its weapons powered by energy drawn directly from the black hole itself. "It's beautiful and terrible," Lyrelay said as they approached the consortium stronghold. Through their bond, Marcus felt her mixture of awe and determination. The battle was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. Ships from dozens of species fought side by side against the consortium's automated defenses and Korthak shock troops. The mobile fortress's black hole weapons could destroy entire fleets with single shots, but the combined alliance had superior numbers and something the consortium couldn't replicate: unity of purpose. Marcus commanded the human-led tactical strike force that penetrated the fortress's defenses, while Lyrelay coordinated the diverse allied fleet from the command ship. Their bond allowed them to share information instantaneously, adapting their strategies in real time as the battle evolved. The turning point came when Dr. Jung discovered that the fortress's black hole power system was unstable. "If we can overload their containment field," she explained, "the entire structure will collapse into the black hole." "That's a suicide mission," Admiral Torres pointed out. "No one could get close enough to plant the charges and escape." "Not necessarily," Marcus said, an idea forming. "Lyrelay, through our bond, could you guide a remote operation while I pilot an unmanned ship with the explosives?" "The bond isn't that precise," she protested, "and if something goes wrong, if we fail, millions of innocent people across the galaxy will suffer," Marcus replied. "We have to try." The plan was desperate, but brilliant. Marcus piloted a modified fighter loaded with quantum explosives toward the fortress's power core, while Lyrelay used their mystical connection to guide him through defenses that no normal pilot could navigate. Their bond, forged by accident at a wedding, had become a weapon against tyranny and oppression. As Marcus approached the target, he felt Lyrelay's love and fear flowing through their connection, giving him strength and precision beyond his normal abilities. He successfully planted the charges and barely escaped before the fortress's power system cascaded into failure. The Nethys Consortium's mobile base was pulled into the black hole it had tried to harness, taking their dreams of galactic conquest with it. The Korthak raiders, deprived of their advanced weapons and direction, scattered back to their hiding places in the dark nebula. In the aftermath, the alliance that had formed to fight the consortium evolved into something permanent. The Galactic Cooperation Council was established with its headquarters on the joint human-Zarathian station, where Marcus and Lyrelay had first worked together as a diplomatic team. 2 years later, Marcus stood once again on the observation deck where he had watched his wife negotiate her first major diplomatic success. But now, they were watching something even more remarkable: the launch of the first joint colony ship carrying families from 12 different species to establish a new kind of settlement where diversity was celebrated rather than merely tolerated. "Do you ever regret it?" Lyrelay asked, joining him at the viewing port. "The accident that brought us together?" Marcus put his arm around her, feeling through their bond the contentment and love that had grown between them. "Never," he said. "Some accidents are really destiny wearing a disguise." "The Council is asking us to lead the next expedition," she said. "A diplomatic mission to the Andromeda Galaxy, where long-range sensors have detected signs of intelligent life." "Together?" Marcus asked. "Together," she confirmed. "Always together." As they watched the colony ship disappear into hyperspace, Marcus reflected on how a simple act of kindness at an alien wedding had changed not just their lives, but the course of galactic history. He had come as a guest to a royal wedding, made what seemed like a terrible mistake, and ended up bound to a remarkable woman who had become his perfect partner in every way that mattered. The human capacity for adapting to unexpected situations, for turning disasters into opportunities, and for building bridges across impossible differences had proven itself once again. And somewhere in the vast galaxy, other species were learning that sometimes the best alliances were born not from careful planning, but from the courage to do the right thing when it mattered most. Their bond, forged by accident but strengthened by choice, had become a symbol of hope for all the different species trying to build a better future together. And as they prepared for their next adventure among the stars, Marcus and Lyrale knew that whatever challenges awaited them, they would face them as they had everything else, together, with the strength that came from understanding that true unity was not about being the same, but about choosing to support each other's differences. The mistake that had bound him to an alien princess had become the foundation for a love story that would be remembered across the galaxy for generations to come.